we are doing another live stream. If you want to join me, I have design work to do today, so this may or may not be boring. I don't know. We'll have to see. So we'll keep an eye on that. So what we're going to do today is we're going to work on. I'm doing illustrations for Airship 27. That's Ron Fortier's group. And there's a number of them. There are 8 illustrations for this novel. I read the novel, and the more I read about it, the more I felt like it deserves something with grayscales. It felt like it needed grayscales. It actually feels like it needs sepia tones, but I think that their printing process only allows for black and white. But I feel like it needs more of a grayscale function. So I wanted to go on ahead and look at that through that point of view. So that's what we're doing today. And I'm going to share the screen at this point in time so you can see what is going on. So there we go. We are here. Now, the instructions from this, which that's the flicker of me is bringing up the instructions. Hey, don't do that. The instructions, I like how it just made everything go away. The instructions on here, God, I swear, people, say that we're working, I've already done illustration 1, and I'm on Elio 2, which is the first time that we see the 2 characters for the book. Now, with these characters, kind of one of the things I want to work on is the spacing and the design of just like the shape of what's going on. So first thing is, they have a specific size, which they require for their ilios. And it's 6 inches by 9 inches, and there's no way out of this. So normally, whenever I do concept work or whatever, I just come up with random shapes for design. But since this is important to be at a specific size for this project, I'm going to go on ahead and do this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just copy this guy here, and I'm going to paste him in. And I'll shrink him down while holding constraints. Right? This ensures that no matter what, my rough draft of this picture is going to be the right proportions. So it'll be the exact right size and the exact right height. That's what I'm doing right now. In fact, Ron just joined me, and he's saying, what happened to the piece for the pulp book? Which, that's what I'm working on. So, Ron, let me bring you up to speed. What I was saying was, you have a specific size. Your size is 6 by 9. So I've taken and copied this in and put it right here. We're going to be working on just layout design and concept for this. I'm going to try to get some ideas for what I want this to look like. When I read the book, as I was saying earlier, Ron, when I read the book, I really felt like it needs grayscales as opposed to just a sharp black and white. It's a very steampunk universe sort of thing. So I feel like it needs more of like a grayscale effect. Really what it's probably going to end up being is black and white with grays as like a shading or an accent. But I still don't know exactly what I want to do with just the layout of the page. So I'm going to do some roughs here. I'm going to just sketch this over and do this and do this. And what this is doing is this is giving me, I'll have ultimately 8 concept pieces that I can use for this. And then I can come up with some ideas that maybe will make me feel a little bit better about this particular piece. I'll flatten it out. Now the ilio that's in here, The other thing I'm going to do is I want to get a new layer. The Elio that's in here specifically says the two characters are... oh, yeah, I tried to change the Earth Tau thing, and I guess it didn't change it. I'm still getting used to the projects, or the streaming services. They're hard to... They're hard to remember how to use, because each one of them's got a different set of rules, and I'm using about 4 different ones right now. So I'll figure out how to change that so it just says a generic thing and doesn't say Earth Tau anymore. And because I can change the title, it should say 4/27/2020 LiveDraw Join Me, but it doesn't. Okay, so the second Elio on this one has the 2 main characters walking through deserted, ruined, and abandoned city streets. That's the specific request on this particular one. These are all, since these are commissions, I'm doing what I can on this that fits the restrictions of the illustration. The thing about this one is this is also the first time we see the 2 main characters, so it's not a good idea to have, character 1 and character 2 like this. So it's got 2 different masters that are serving this particular piece, and that's what's causing me a little bit of consternation. Not a lot, but it's the piece that's making it. It's the part that's making this harder for me to figure out, because I've got to have the character 1 and character 2 be large enough that you can see who they are, figure out what they're doing, but at the same time, you have to put in that it's wrecked cars and a broken city, and here's character 1 and here's character 2. So you've got to kind of solve both of these masters. And so I'm going to have to be creative, which I love. I love doing anything which requires me to have to really work this one out. In a comic, I would have shown their feet first to show that they're walking, and then backed out to a point where I could see, you'd see the full thing, but we don't have that luxury, which is great. I actually really love constraints. So don't take anything that I'm saying as a complaint. I love constraints. It challenges my brain, makes me have to really work on it and think it through. And so I'm going to pick a brush. It's not hard lines, because I don't like that brush as much for this. This is not a good idea for a brush. Where's my... Really need a pencil. A decent pencil. Like that sketch pencil right there. Okay, so we want... rule of thirds kind of tells us that we're going to be somewhere right about through... our rule of thirds is going to be like this on this Elio. The main character is a young lady, and I envision her being quite a bit shorter than the other character. So I want to put her head in this middle square, though, because I want people to be looking at her face. I'll put the main lead male's head up here higher, so you're looking this way. And either they're going to be looking off this way and this way, but I don't think she's going to be looking at him. So, working this through, I think what I will do is have them both looking that way. And then that'll give me the ability to put action over here that I can use. So, but I also think we can make this somewhat smaller and use some more space on this Elio. So putting it like that puts him on one side. We still see it, her here. They're both looking off to the distance like that. So, yeah, kind of his shoulders here, her shoulders there, and then this allows us to have them walking along, and maybe she's in front. and he's behind. And this is probably a 3/4 view. So we'll do more like this guy right here. Right. So there we go. We've started with just a rough. Now we know kind of roughly where these people will be. Right? So, in order to give the ambiance of this picture, I'm going to have to decide whether I want to shrink them down even more. I like the idea of being close to them because we want to be able to see what's going on. But then again, I need to be able to see how wrecked the city is behind them. So following that workflow, I've got, let's see, what do we have in the instructions? Abandoned city streets filled with relics, motor vehicles, debris, and junk. So we need to be able to see behind her that there is, wrecked cars. Right? Behind them both. Like this. Lying outside or whatever, and things in the road here and there. So we're going to kind of go like this with our perspective. Give like a couple of broken street lights like this, which always gives the effect of something going bad. And have like that. And the streets coming back like this for the perspective. And they're just looking into the distance on this one. Like, what the heck is going on here? I actually may take this street light and just bend it all the way down. It fell over 20 years ago. Right? So there's this here going that way. And that's one wrecked cobra head right there. The other one's still kind of hanging out there, but it's not doing well anymore. You got a car sitting on its, sort of on its side like this. I'll fix that car because he's now just hovering. That's what he's doing, and I don't want him to hover. That's not where we're headed on this one at all. All right, and then her build by request is that she's a very slim-framed girl. So I'm going to make sure I keep her frame very slim. I'm assuming he's a much broader framed individual. So he's going to tower over her a lot more. All right. So we'll go in here and do that. And then we go this way and come across like that. I'm going to turn her slightly this way, so the midline of her body goes like this. I'm going to have him turned slightly out because they're both kind of searching at this point in time. Like, they're both kind of, wow, this is amazing. I didn't know that the world was this badly. And putting it so that she's looking this way and he's looking this way gives an uncomfortableness to this picture. It gives an uneasiness, which works really well because we want the feeling of unease. The city is in really lousy shape. Everything's really badly screwed up. Well, thank you. So, you really want that unease going on here. And so I'm heading with that kind of feel with this. You'll have the characters in the foreground like this, but now I want to see whether I want that to be my composition or not. If you look at the composition with just black and white, that's the next question. When you do this, here's going to be what you're looking at in black and white, right? Here are your masses. right? So what am I drawing my eye to? And that's what I'm kind of looking at next. Do I want to add something here, which will add a little bit of darkness to one side? And if so, should I be pulling the eye through the picture like this? You know, you're looking at kind of the way that this is drawing through. Where is the eye going? And I think I'm pretty happy with that. It'll look a little busy. I'll just have to make sure that I don't chatter up this middle section right through here, because that area is going to get difficult to see around these characters, right? So next thing I'll do is go in here and just fill in the shading on this, because we know that we want him here. Right? And looking out like that. And we're going to have her right here. I'm giving her still that smaller frame. And I'll even bow her back a little so that she looks even a little bit more at unease. The way the story and the character works, she's not from necessarily this era either. So they're both kind of fish out of water here. So they're going to have, the way that this is set up, not only are they both sort of trying to figure out what's going on in the universe that they're in, but they're both fish out of water by character nature. And I'm not going to give too much away on the story, obviously, because that's a story. And you should read the story. It's a good story. But you kind of want to... There's some analysis that I'm kind of doing on this. Give him more of a chiseled chin. Woo, that's too much of a chiseled chin. Okay, back that off. There we go. Still having problems with my pencil here being a pencil. Right? And then I'll do this. Come in here. You know what? I'm actually going to go. I like them looking up like this. It's like she's exploring. Her eyes are up. Her head is up. So I'm going to turn her head upward like this. I'm going to do the same thing with him. Right? They're both, wow, look how amazing this place is. They're kind of like this and like that. Hey, Brian. Welcome to the chat. At this point, there's no... this isn't the final drawing at all. This is just my layout concept. So I can move stuff around. It's not that much of a worry. I'm just looking at what's here and... Okay, Ron. I'll see you later. I am working on, Brian, to bring you up to speed. I'm working on an art piece, commission piece for Ron. So that's why he was here. Trying to figure out where I was in this. And I'm just setting up layouts at this point in time. Right? And so we've got a couple of pieces here that I'm just working on, trying to kind of set up the layout on. How you doing, my friend? Okay, so I'm just going in here and adding a highlight. This just tells me what these shapes look like. That's all I'm doing here, is just trying to get some definition on where these shapes are in space. I'm not even really coming up with a full plan on this. I'm just trying to kind of, well, that's good. Storyboarding is pretty close to what I'm doing in its own essence. So now I feel like in this instance here, my perspective on these two characters is distorted in a way, right? So I'm going to move her like this. I feel like I can still get the same effect of the background, but not have her right on top of him in this instance. I can get the same effect with her giving some space to him. And this gives him the ability to be out here. Right? It'll be a hot lawn, David. Just saying. I think I'm funny. So I go through here and just clean some of this up. I wish you were drawing too, though. Gotta say, David, it's good to have drawing time. Although I'm noticing that making this a live feed is making me draw every day, which is one of the reasons why I'm going to keep doing this, even though I think I've got like all of 2 people watching this. But this keeps me working on this and keeps me drawing every day. Okay. So this car is actually on his side. I think I'm going to do is put that car actually, like, literally on his side. I'll go back here. Even though Ron was saying, I love the perspective, I feel like my perspective always sucks. And I am perpetually working on my damn perspective. So much so I'll cheat from time to time and do the thing. Okay, so that's Elio 2. I think I'm going to actually call that one relatively okay. Right, here's some of the wreckage from behind them. A couple of cobra heads that are fallen. This one's fallen into the street over here. And over here is this. And then some buildings that, probably run down and dilapidated. This is not the final piece. All we're really doing here is just trying to establish a mood. All these dark windows are going to be over here, are going to be part of the mood. Right. So that's them in a street wandering around. Now, what I will probably do is, after I have done this and decided what it is, I may go on ahead and set this up in a 3D program with maquettes and square away the perspective. Otherwise, I'm just going to sit here all day long drawing back and forth on the perspective, and it drives me nuts. So, at least, though, I now know what Elio 2 looks like, right? This is what Elio 2 is going to look like. So, there we go. Go back to Elio 3. 3 says, the main character is crying, sitting on the ground, holding herself in fear. And the other main character is bending down to question her softly. And around them is pitch black. This is going to be a relatively easy one, because I figure what you really want is to just put the two characters like this. Hey, Brent, good to see you, man. So the girl's like this. The guy is going to be bending over like this. Right? And this is it. This is the entire drawing. It's going to be much more dramatic the smaller these two are and the more centered. The scene is extraordinarily dramatic, and has it's a very dramatic scene. And so you really kind of want, for me, I'm thinking this whole area is going to be just gray, right? Or black, pitch black, around them like this, to illustrate just how tiny and small they are and how alone they are. Right? So it'll be very much like this. I'll go back in and just establish shapes. Right? These I'll use as guides later on whenever I'm ready to do the folio. So all we're doing here is just establishing the shapes. I'm not really that terribly worried. I was much more worried with how to make picture 2 work over here. Picture 1, by the way, is already complete. So I'm doing the storyboarding because they want to approve, the client wants to approve the designs before we move on. So since the client has requested to approve all designs before moving on, I'm going to go ahead and do the roughs. And that way I'm not that dedicated to the process. If they decide my layout for 3 is incorrect or inappropriate or wrong and they want to change it, I've only invested like 15 minutes in, so it's not like it's a major problem. And so I like that. I mean, if I make these roughs like this, they can see enough of what's going on to know that that's where I'm headed with this piece. And then veto the design if they don't want it. And I'm not invested that much into it at that point. So that's where we're at here. I'm actually using black in here to illustrate that I intend to do nothing more than black out this zone so that there's nothing that, it's like I'm not messing around here, man. So that's Helio 3 by instruction. Okay. I'm going to move over to Helio 4. Helio 4, Helio 4 is kind of complicated because I feel like there's 2 scenes operating at the same time here. Okay, so I've got a bad guy in the background and a good guy in the foreground. I think that's where I'm going with this. I'm going to give it some wild perspective. And the center of this is a glove that the good guy's wearing. So I want that pretty much centered on the screen right here, right? So I'm going to do wild perspective. So here's, oh man, I'm going to do wild perspective and mess it up really badly. So that's my battle plan. So screw this up epically. Okay, the glove, we're back to the glove. The glove is the center of this picture. We got one leg. Let's talk about the torso being right about here and the head being right here. He's looking this way. It's wild perspective. I know I want that glove to be in the center, but I think that glove's going to change shape, which is okay. And he's chambering back. So here will be the forearm, which then manages to put the glove right here, and that works. And then one leg is here, right? His back is there. His face is right here. He's looking at on this same wild perspective because we want, this is a very intense scene in the book. So I want as intense an angle as I can possibly get. I'm going to put his leg right like that. And then we've got the bad guy right here. I haven't decided what the bad guy looks like yet. Had a vision of what he looked like, but kind of feel like he looks a little different here. Let's see. So I got the bad guy and a bunch of minions. And we've got light rays coming off of this glove here. Right. We're doing that. Got the glove here. So that's Elio 4. And I think I'll probably clean this guy up a little bit more. What I will do is once I've drawn all of these, I'll walk away for a day. And then I'll come back and I will redraw them on top of this drawing with another color. And that'll give me 2 layers of walkthrough on these art pieces so that I can see what, and this is something I really wish I had done in some of my other projects, but I didn't. And I'll stress out. I'll just end up stressing out about the artwork if I don't do it this way. Which kind of, I know it's frustrating because it's like, I know that Ron's looking for this piece, or these pieces. But I'll do this here, and that there, and the thumb right there, and that's just illustrates that's what I'm after. The perspective's not right, the proportions aren't right, but you can see what's going on. That's the rough layout of the picture as I want it. This is 4. We're going to move to Elio 5. Okay. In this instance, we're in a different scene. This scene is a scene where the 2 main characters have met a third character. And they are heading off to a dinner event with a ship captain. So I want to give a broad enough view of what's going on with these guys so that we can see not only their clothing, but because they're dressed up to the nines. So I want to show not just their clothing, which is important, but I want to kind of show sort of what's going on. They're jovial, right? So we've got the main character, one of the main male character here. He's going to be like that. And I start with the head because the head is telling me what this body is doing. The head's up, happy. That's just to tell me it's happy. You know, here's his ears, right? So that we know his head's going upward. He's happy. And then coming down like this through here, he has one of the girls right here, right? And the other girl is right here, who the character isn't as jovial and fluffy as these two have been in this part of the story. So I'm not going to make her grinning. Oh, well, thank you, Brent. So I'm not going to have her grinning because that doesn't seem to be like her style. So, but we want large flowing skirts from both of these girls. This girl is a markedly smaller person all the way around, smaller frame. Now that I've done that, I can see right away that I have not given enough space. So I'm going to make this smaller, move it to here, like this. And go for just putting in this, like this. Right, and we'll have her like this. And no matter what, I now kind of feel like they are taking up too much space. So I'm going to move her over to here. Like so. This is the place where I decide everything. And I'll move her over to here so that we can see the main male character just fine. At this point in time, he's standing like this. And a hand here and a hand here. It says, Elio specifically is saying, though, one character is on one arm and the other character is on the other, which makes me feel like they're linked arms. So maybe I'm going to change that setup. And I'll shrink it down even a little bit more so that they can link arms. Because then I can pull them further apart like that.